Good morning, students. This is RNA viruses, what I am starting today. That is animal associated RNA viruses. In that, you have to study about picorna virus. Example is poliovirus, rhabdovirus, influenza virus, riovirus, and two of retroviruses. What I am starting today is with poliovirus. Okay, you would have already heard about polio virus from long time, like from your childhood there is vaccination done, like every child is given vaccine, and you would have heard about talc and sabin vaccine. One is intravenous and one is oral is what mostly accepted now these days. uh, Picornavirus is viruses are like a group of enteroviruses. Enteroviruses means basically which infects the gastrointestinal tract. So, poliovirus belongs to a family of picornavirus that infects the gastrointestinal tract. That is the enterovirus genus. So, picornaviruses have 5 genuses, and in that enterovirus is the one which contains the poliovirus. Picorna itself means small, pico means small, RNA viruses, small RNA containing viruses. So in that, poliomyelitis is one of the example of RNA containing virus belonging to the genus enterovirus. It infects humans, and it infects the starting infection starts from the gut. One of the example of the disease caused by poliovirus is poliomyelitis. Now, this poliomyelitis is again a Greek word. Polio means grey, myelios means marrow, titis means inflammation. So altogether, it is the destruction of motor neurons in the spinal cord in the CNS. It implies that there is paralytic poliomyelitis because of destruction of gray matter in the brain. Okay, so as an example of picornavirus, we have to study poliomyelitis. It's an infectious disease. It infects the muscle, and it causes weakness. Due to this, there is the person who is affected will have problem in movement. It also weakens the legs, apart from that muscles of head, neck, and diaphragm. So there are people who are not showing symptoms, but they still carry the poliovirus inside. Poliovirus type 2 is what we are all fighting to eradicate from the world. Almost like for 2015, people thought that it is eradicated, but there are two cases which appeared, and then now continuously this vaccination is given to eradicate poliovirus from the world. Now, this is very important because this poliovirus affects children effectively, and then it spread from person to person by ingesting the fecal matter through mouth. Okay, now we'll see the how the productive cycle of the poliovirus is. So this is the structure of a poliovirus look like. Actually, when you see poliovirus is roughly outer outlook is spherical, but it is not actually spherical. It is icosahedral, and so the icosahedron is made up of equilateral triangles fused together in a spherical shape. Okay, this is the most optimal way of forming a closed shell using identical protein subunits. So inside this protein shell, what is called as capsid, lies the genetic material. Now the genome is very important here. It's an RNA genome, single stranded, and around 7.5 kilobases, and it is attached at one end to a virion protein which is called as VPG. It is virion protein genome linked at the 5 prime end to a uracil residue. And interestingly, the 3 prime end is polyadenylated. Here the RNA is positive strand. That means it is also called a sense strand, because once the virus particle infects the cell, it can directly start producing the protein part. Now if you see, there is a protein attached, and there is polyadenylation in the genomic material of poliovirus. uh, Even if the VPG is not attached, the infectio particles can be still infectious. So VPG is not so important, but polyadenylation is very important for the functional productivity of this poliovirus. Coming to the genome structure, the 5 prime end has some special modification, and 3 prime end has special modification, and you have a single large proteins which is synthesized, and then it is cleaved down to form structural and non-structural proteins. As I told, the 5 prime end is attached to a small protein uh, called as VPG, in which the tyrosine residue is attached to the uracil. And it's a 22 amino acid protein peptide, I can say 22 amino acid peptide, out of which tyrosine is attached to uracil at the 5 prime end. The 5 prime end also has some modification secondary structures which are called as non-coding regions. The important of that is the clover leaf structure and iris. Iris meaning is internal ribosome entry site. These are very important for the translation. And coming to the exon, that is the one big protein which is synthesized. Internally, you have the cis element, which is also very important for when we come upon on the genome replication. And coming to the 3 prime end, 3 prime end also has 3 prime non-coding region, which is also very helpful for when we come across genome replication, and the 3 prime polyadenylation, as we see in the normal mRNA of a eukaryotic cell. Now coming to proteins, viral genomic RNA encodes one large protein which is called as polyprotein, and they are cleaved by viral proteases in a two-step. That is the first, these big protein is cleaved into 3 precursor proteins, and these precursor proteins are further cleaved into individual proteins. So what are the precursor proteins? Precursor proteins are P1, P2 and P3. P1 is further cleaved into the structural proteins, which are the capsid protein VP1, VP2, VP3 and VP4, and P2 is cleaved into a protease, ATPase. Protease is very important for the translation, where it cleaves the elongation factor 4G. And 2b, the function is little not so clear, but still it has some function. When we go further, I'll tell you. And 2c has ATPase activity, which is important for RNA synthesis. And P3 gives the other proteins, non-structural proteins. There is one protease which is important in cleaving the precursor proteins, and then you have the polymerase, RNA dependent RNA polymerase, which helps in the synthesis of the negative strand. So and then you have the synthesis of the positive strand. So the RNA polymerase is very important. So coming to the life cycle of the life cycle of poliovirus, you know that the entry of the poliovirus is by fecal oral route. Once it get into the alimentary canal of the person, it is taken into it enters the intestine, where the epithelial cells are attacked. The receptor for this virus is CD155, which is present in humans and higher primates. In higher primates, so much of infection is not seen, causing disease, but they can be the carriers for this poliovirus. In humans, CD155 is the receptor, and the life cycle of poliovirus is mostly restricted to the cytoplasm. The entry is by receptor mediated endocytosis, that is interaction with CD155, and there is conformational change of the receptor, and you have accumulation of the receptor and the formation of the endosome. So once there is pinching off from the membrane and forming of endosome, you have the endosome usually has the lower pH, due to which there is changes in the structure of the viral capsid protein. And one more thing to remember is this receptor CD155 belongs to a immunoglobulin superfamily of receptors. Many of the picorna viruses attack immunoglobulin superfamily of receptor like ICAM1, that is intracellular adhesion molecule 1, but for us for poliovirus it is CD155. So once the viral protein has entered the cell, that is, it is in the endosome, the pH of the endosome is very important, that is around 5.5. The capsid protein undergoes a conformational change. Once the conformational change is done, there is exposure of the hydrophobic region of the proteins. Because of this, there is a channel or pores are created in the capsid through which the viral RNA is released. Once the viral RNA is released into the cytoplasm, the next step is the cleavage. There is a DNA repair enzyme called as 5' tyrosyl DNA phosphodiesterase 2. I'll repeat again, 5' tyrosyl DNA phosphodiesterase 2, which will cleave the VPG and the RNA separate at the 5' end. So this is very important for RNA to proceed further, because if the capsid the VPG is still attached, there may not be a proper translation happening. Okay. If VPG is attached, then it is a signal for encapsulation, that is putting the RNA into the capsid and packaging the virus. So cleaving is the first step in viral translation. So before moving to viral translation, I'll just little explain about how eukaryotic mRNA translation happen. In eukaryotic mRNA, you have the 5' cap at the 5' end, that is very important, that is recognized by the cap binding protein, that is elongation factor F4E. Once this cap binding protein is attached, you have the recruitment of other factors, which is 4G, 4A, which recruits the ELF elongation factor F3, and then ribosome is recruited to that site, and that site is the internal ribosome entry site that in the eukaryotic mRNA. And then you have the ELF2, which brings the methionine related carrying tRNA. So once the virus releases its RNA by cleaving the VPG, the first step done by the proteases is cleaving viral protease 2A. It cleaves the ELF4G. So ELF4G, which attaches to this cap binding protein, recruits all the other machineries to the site of translation. So once the ELF4G is cleaved by this protease, all the ELF4G in the cell are cleaved by the protease, then there is shutdown of the eukaryotic or the host cell translation. But if you see the mRNA of the virus, the polio virus, you do not have the cap, but you have the other region like clover leaf structure, and you have the iris region. So that regions do not need the cap binding protein. So this 4G can still attach to the clover leaf model, clover leaf structure on the viral RNA, and recruit the 4A, ELF3 and ribosome and elongation factor F2, and start the translation of viral RNA. And it's also very important to note that once a virus is infected to the cell, there is an internal alarm which is started inside the cell, and the cells which are infected start producing interferons. So if the virus also includes a strategy that elongation factor F2, it can be, the translation can start without the elongation factor F2. It can also cleave the elongation factor F2, thereby shutting down the interferon production also. So there is no cap in the mRNA of the virus. So the virus cleaves down the elongation factor 4G. Okay, once the elongation factor 4G is cleaved down, then you have, without the N-terminal region getting attached to the viral RNA, so it is cap independent translation starts. You have recruitment of other factors, and there is translation done by the virus. Okay, once the translation is done, I've already mentioned there is one big protein which is synthesized, out of which the protease 2A cleaves the P1 and P2, P3 separate, and followed by 3C protease cleaving the other structural proteins, and then you have the synthesis of RNA polymerase, and then you have RNA 3C protease and 2A protease which are synthesized in the cytoplasm. So now you have enough of proteins made. Now for the genomic RNA to be synthesized again, it is interesting to know that when this ribosomes bind and translate, it is from 5' to 3' direction. But when RNA polymerase starts the synthesis of the positive strand, that is from 3' to 5' direction. So if at all, imagine if at all two are synthesizing, then there is at some instant they come face to face each other and there is nothing happening. So there is viral strategies which are included to synthesize the genomic RNA. So the first step in that is circularization of the positive strand RNA. Now to synthesize more positive strand RNA, you have to synthesize the negative strand RNA. Then you have to convert that negative strand RNA to positive strand RNA, and that is packaged into the virions. So the first step in the synthesis of the genomic RNA is the circularization. So how this circularization is brought about? Circularization is brought about by two steps. You have the 3CD protease which binds to the 5' end and 3' end of the non-coding region and brings the two together, and that is stabilized by poly-RC binding protein, that is PCBP. Poly-RC binding protein, which is in the secondary structures of the 5' end. The PCBP binds to the clover leaf structure at the 5' non-coding region and interacts with PABP. PABP is poly ribo adenine binding protein, poly A binding protein at the 3' non-coding region. Circularization is the switch from translation to genome replication. Now here there should be a primer, and again VP protein is used, which is attached to one uridine nucleotide, and negative RNA synthesis is started, and VPU is the template for that new negative strand RNA becomes the template for the positive strand, that is the genomic RNA, to be synthesized. Now, how this negative strand is synthesized? That is by priming, protein priming. This is very interesting because there is a protein called as 3AB protein, which is like goes into the endoplasmic reticulum, and then it is attached to the membrane of the endoplasmic reticulum, that will have this peptide, that is VPG, or the tyrosine of which interacts with the RNA pol, which is brings the uridine residue to the RNA site. This is called as VPG uridylation. So once you have this recruitment of RNA pol and RNA is there, and you have this VPG also close to it, there is transfer, that is the phosphodiester bond is formed, and VPG is cleaved by 3C protease. So the membrane associated RNA genome replication occurs for almost all positive strand RNA viruses. So now you have the release of VPG, and then you have the synthesis of the negative strand by 3D pol of virus, RNA dependent RNA polymerase. So once this positive strand is converted to the negative strand, then again one positive strand is synthesized, that is the genomic RNA, that is primed by the CRE, the secondary structure which is present. CRE is cis acting replication element, which is essential for positive strand RNA synthesis. VPG linked oligonucleotide is first synthesized via protein priming, and that is 2 uridine attached to VPG at the CRE elements, which lies in the middle of the RNA genome. Then this VPG primer is translated to the 3' end of the negative strand, and then you have the resuming of RNA synthesis. As you have the resuming, more and more of positive strand are synthesized. Why more and more of positive strand are synthesized than the negative strand? Because more positive strands are going to be packaged into the virion. The next is assembly and release. Now you have the P1 protein. Remember, the first pro protein which is synthesized is broken down into P1 and P2, P3 by 2A protease. Now this P1 protein is cleaved into 3 proteins. The 5 structural subunits are there. P1 pro protein is cleaved into 5S structural subunit that will contain VP3, VP1 and VP0. There is no 2 and 4. Remember this. There are 4 capsid proteins, VP1, 2, 3, 4. Here VP1 and 3 and VP0, that is 2 and 4, are not cleaved, and that is made as the 5S structural unit, and they assemble into 5 pentamers that forms the 14S capsid pentamers, and that 14S capsid pentamers can be packed with the genomic RNA, forming 150S virions. These virion are non-infectious. Once they are released from the cell, the V0 is cleaved to VP4 and VP2, and that process is called maturation, and the virion particles are released out of the cell. To briefly summarize the infectious productive cycle of poliovirus. Poliovirus attached to the receptor, that is CD155, which is immunoglobulin superfamily of receptor, and then once it is attached, it is taken inside to the cell by endocytosis. Endocytosis again takes the the endosome contains the acidic pH, due to which the capsid protomer will change the structure and forms the holes in the capsid, which releases the viral RNA. Viral RNA comes out of the endosome, and then it is a positive strand RNA, so it directly starts the synthesis. The synthesis is initiated by cleavage of VPG by the enzyme 5' tyrosyl DNA phosphodiesterase 2. That is a host enzyme which is important for DNA repair, and this release of VPG initiates the recruitment of the factors which are ribosomes and ELF4G, which is cleaved by 2A protease at the N-terminal site, and then recruits the other machinery which starts the translation. Translation produces one single protein which is cleaved to other structural and non-structural proteins, which again initiates the viral genome replication by forming by circularization of the positive strand RNA, and synthesis of negative strand RNA happens by RNA dependent RNA polymerase, which is viral encoded. And once the negative strand RNA is there, you have the protein priming again by VPG and the two uridine residues. You have the synthesis of the positive strand from the negative strand, and once the capsomeres are all present, you have the packaging into and the capsid, the RNA, and it is released as non-infectious particles, which are later converted by cleavage of VP0 to VP4 and 2, VP4 and 2, and the infectious particles are ready to be put out by the person. Now, to summarize, picorna viruses are found in diseases of many organs. The whole family can infect many organs: gastrointestinal tract, respiratory tract, neuronal tissue, and muscles. Poliovirus is a prototype of picorna virus family, possessing a single strand RNA genome. Virion structure is non-enveloped capsid with a T3 symmetry. The capsid composed of 60 subunits, each of which consists of 3 virion protein VP1, 2, 3, and viral genome is a positive strand RNA approximately of 7.5 kilobases in length. VPG is linked at the 5' end of the viral RNA. The iris element located at the 5' end allows cap-independent translation. The RNA genome encodes one large polyprotein which is subsequently processed into individual viral protein. The RNA genome replication is initiated via protein priming by using VPG as a primer. Once the poliovirus infects, poliovirus causes the elongation factor 4G to be cleaved by 2A protease, blocking the cap-dependent translation in the host cell, thereby causing the infection of the cell to progress towards RNA, towards the viral RNA translation, and thereby causing the host cell lysis. So this is about the poliovirus, the simplest of all the viruses.